What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Quickly before we start, we are on to the Sora giveaway from Kingdom Hearts 2, but I do want to announce the person who won the Link Nendoroid, and that is Joseph. So congratulations to Joseph. It is in the mail, and you should be getting it in the next day or two. So I did put the announcement out on Twitter, and hopefully everything is good there, and he gets the Link Nendoroid in the next day or two and can check it out. It looked pretty cool. But now I'm excited to give away the Kingdom Hearts 2 figures. It's going to be really neat. Today, guys, we have a couple things to go over. Tomb Raider is coming back. It appears to be for its climactic finale, as they've said. And that should be announced today. We kind of got an early look at it yesterday by looking at the source code of the website. We're going to go over that. We're waiting for, in this case, The Witcher to have some sort of announcement as well. And then we found out about a very interesting feature for Street Fighter 2, something that might have original arcade goers really excited. So today, guys, let's get started. Now, we've heard rumors for a new Tomb Raider showing up for over a year now. I think back at like 2016 at some point we were talking about it. I definitely know we were talking about it in 2017, and we even kind of thought it would be shown at E3 last year. Was not the case. However, it looks like today, 9 a.m. Eastern time, we will have it unveiled. They did change TombRaider.com, or at least update it to where it shows this announcement, as you're going to see here, saying that tune in basically tomorrow or today, and we'll basically announce what the next Tomb Raider is. But the funny thing is, we got a little bit of an early look at it by looking at the web page's source code. If you follow Nibble on Twitter, you probably saw this is at Nibellion. They went through it and they found out that it is called Shadow of the Tomb Raider. As we've kind of heard before, these are the rumors we heard a while ago that it would be called Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And what's interesting, it looks like it's coming out September 14th, and it's coming to the PS4, the Xbox One, and PC. There will be no timed release here for any of the systems, much like the Rise of the Tomb Raider was for the Xbox One. Now, it also shows another date for a full release, April 27th. I assume today we're going to get some quick little announcement teaser or something, and then later on in April, I guess a month or so from now, we will get a full-on reveal, and then we'll find out gameplay and everything at E3, and then get set up for that September release. Good idea to get out in September, obviously ahead of Call of Duty and then ahead of Red Dead and everything. And I do think Tomb Raider fans have been looking for this. Now, there was another line in there that says join, in this case, Lara, for the climactic finale of in this case, the Tomb Raider series here for this. And it looks like it will be, I guess, the last one in this case, and they'll probably just eventually, I guess, reboot it again. So that could be the case there. Of course, we had Tomb Raider on the 360 and the PS3, and we had it on the Xbox One, the PS4, and PC, and now this looks to be kind of wrapping up this, I assume, trilogy at this point, at least the way they've described it. Now, will they continue Tomb Raider into something else? Probably. I mean, they rebooted it for this. They could branch off again to another story or something. There's a lot of stuff they can do, but we will get a look at it later on today. What's cool, though, I do like that it's going to, from what we've seen here with the source code, all systems, including the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I wasn't expecting this one on the Switch. In fact, I don't think a lot of people were. It sounds like this thing went in development since we started hearing some rumblings about this back in mid to late 2016. It sounds like it's been in development for quite a while, probably even like maybe months after Rise of the Tomb Raider came out. They started drawing up or even mocking up plans to finish off, I guess, in their mind, a trilogy. So I'm not surprised it's not on the Switch, and I don't think anyone really should be at this point. Maybe if they reboot the series again and they come out with another one, then be surprised if it's not on the Switch. But in this case, you can expect it out later on this fall in September on the Xbox One, PS4, and PC, according to their source code on their website. But we'll get I guess in this case, a teaser of some kind later on today, about an hour after, of course, Newswave goes up. Next up, let's talk a little bit about Toys R Us. While this isn't technically technology news or gaming news, it kind of is, because if you're a little older, maybe you're in your late 20s or even 30s, or maybe you're a little younger in your teenage years, but you've been frequenting your local Toys R Us. It looks like they unfortunately didn't get things figured out as well as they would have liked to this past holiday. They did some restructuring. I guess it wasn't enough, because it looks like they're going to be shuttering all Toys R Us in the UK, which is going to account for about 3,000 or so jobs lost. And then, according to the Wall Street Journal, it looks like they have passed on information to the U.S. store's employees, telling them you might want to look for another job because, well, it looks like we're going to be shutting those stores down as well. They already talked about closing some U.S. stores. It looks like it's going to get worse than that. According to Wall Street Journal, it looks like it's going to be all of the U.S. stores, and that will account for, according to them, 33,000 jobs total being lost. That's a lot of jobs, a lot of people losing jobs. And what's really unfortunate here is you may be kind of nostalgic about Toys R Us like I am, because obviously I went to Toys R Us when I was little and younger, and I remember even shopping for Super Nintendo games there. There was this really cool thread on Reset Era, people talking about it, sharing nostalgic moments, and this little slide here was shared. That's a very old ad from when the Super Nintendo was around and you were shopping there, and you're going to notice some of those games are $70, by the way. I think Ultimate Mortal Kombat was 70, and it's crazy. Street Fighter Alpha. These are big games that at the time were very expensive. Consider what we pay now for games, and this was back in the 90s, and maybe we shouldn't be, I guess, complaining about some of these prices. Either way, it's a shame to see Toys R Us really fall like this, to the point where we're not going to have really any dedicated toy stores around anymore. No place to take your kids to, you know, if you're a little younger now and you have kids and everything. So at this point, they'll just have to take our word that a toy store exists. I can't wait to tell, you know, kids about that, and then they can kind of just look at us and call us old. We also have another announcement coming today at some point. This is from the Witcher Twitter account, where essentially they said check back tomorrow, and of course the internet at this point believes that they are announcing something around the Witcher game, something around in this case, the lore, the franchise. And we of course heard from the community manager earlier about how don't be surprised, or how would you like to see, in this case, Geralt go to a game outside of the Witcher series. We're kind of expecting an announcement for Soul Calibur 6 at this point, that it will include Geralt from the Witcher series in this case. So keep an eye out for that as well. Keep an eye out for the Tomb Raider announcement, or at least the teaser, and some sort of announcement around the Witcher series that more than likely will be Geralt going to Soul Calibur 6, if some of the rumors kind of going around the internet right now are to be trusted. Next up, let's talk about E3 and Microsoft. Do you remember how we looked at those floor plans and there was like one little spot from Microsoft, and people were really confused as to why Sony and Nintendo had larger spots, much larger spots, by the way, than Microsoft. Microsoft was a tiny little square, and people were like, that's weird, why are they doing that? Well, over on MajorNelson.com, or I guess his blog, he gave us an idea of what's happening with Microsoft at E3, and it sounds like they have a lot of stuff to talk about, because they're going to be renting out the entirety of the Microsoft Theater, saying, with the evolution of E3 now including fans and extended show hours, we saw an opportunity to create an entirely new show experience reaching E3 attendees and those that are following the show from afar. With that, in collaboration with the Entertainment Software Association, the organizers of E3, we're excited to announce that Xbox will be taking over the Microsoft Theater, a perfectly situated space located in the heart of LA Live and across the street from the Los Angeles Convention Center. And it looks like they're pretty much doing everything from there. It sounds like they're even going to have a large show floor pretty much set up for press and the public that can go out to E3 now, media. It's going to be pretty large there. So that small space that we saw, by the way, at E3 appears to be for Mixer. They're just going to basically show off and advertise Mixer at that little booth, and they're basically just going to have their own building for E3. And it's pretty interesting, because Microsoft would have to have a lot of announcements, at least for this to make sense. They generally have their own relatively large, at least last year they did large, in this case, event, where they showed off a bunch of stuff. I thought it was probably the best live event that happened last year, despite a lot of the games also being on PC, so they're console exclusives. We're going to see that again this year, guys. Nothing they show this year is going to stay off of Windows. It's going to be on Windows. It's going to be on the Xbox. We pretty much have to accept it at this point. But in order to really, in this case, for this to make sense, to have this big building, I would expect things like the new Fable to be shown there, at least teased, and they have to have Halo 6. I think Halo is going to make an appearance there in some way, whether it's a spin-off or it's just outright Halo 6. Of course, Forza will be there. We know about that, but they have to have Halo 6 there to show off, ready to go, possibly for this fall. And of course, this would be, I think, the first time Halo would really make that jump alongside the Xbox version on release day to Windows as well. Maybe even incorporate crossplay if they can make that happen. And we'll just have to see. Phil Spencer has been alluding to surprises and announcements that they're going to be making there. And it's going to be an interesting time at E3 with Microsoft, because I do think they need some big announcements to get some people back in to the Xbox. The Xbox has been, the X launched, but it hasn't been easy for them. They don't really win any NPDs, which is something they should be winning because it's their home turf in the US. and they need some stuff coming out for this holiday. So we'll see what happens, but they at least have the venue for some really big announcements. I also want to quickly touch on the Media Crate sales from last week. While nothing really big happened, right? It was, again, kind of a slower week. It was very interesting because Monster Hunter did fall out of first place. You're going to see it here in the top 10. Like the North Star, that actually took the top spot in its debut week from Sega, 123,000. Monster Hunter World actually fell to second place, and it's not that much further ahead than Splatoon 2 in this case, right behind it. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at number 4, Breath of the Wild number 5, Odyssey number 6. They're very, I mean, they're right there. Any of the Nintendo games really usually take out a good chunk of that top 10 most times. Legend of Heroes Trails of the Cold Steel one Kai that actually sat there at number 7 for its debut week on the PS4. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, and then Final Fantasy 15, the Royal Edition, which debuts at number 10, rounds out the top 10. Then you're also going to see the hardware here from the week. The Nintendo Switch is pretty much status quo at 45,000, almost the exact same amount as the week prior. And this is going to be pretty consistent until the one I'm really curious about is this week, since that will include Kirby. I want to see what that Kirby launch numbers are. PS4 right below that, 28,363. The 3DS, 10,248. The Vita, 5,476. And then the Xbox One did fall down to 182 units. Pretty standard across the board, nothing crazy. It was interesting Monster Hunter World did fall out, but it has crossed that 2 million mark anyway. So what's, I guess, interesting to note here is the Switch seems to pretty much be sitting on the top spot now, and I think it will catch back up to the PS4 in terms of units for this year, as I think in this case, the PS4 has cooled off from that Monster Hunter push. Even, obviously, they top the top 10 here with Like the North Star, but that wasn't enough to push the PS4 up to what it was with Monster Hunter. So in this case, I think the PS4 will be cooling off and going back to its mid 20,000 or so units per week. And I think the Switch has a lot of headroom to go much higher than that with things like Smash Bros coming out, right? And Pokemon on the horizon this year. I think the Switch is going to massively overtake the PS4 pretty quickly in terms of life-to-date sales. It's something we expected after the first year where the Switch tripled the PS4. I don't think there's any surprises there. I don't think anyone's really expecting anything else. In our last bit of news, let's talk about a really cool feature that was found out by press and media that got to try out the Street Fighter collection that's going to pretty much all systems, including the Switch. And they all seem to point out this feature on the Switch that was very interesting because it's something I wouldn't have thought of, and I don't think a lot of people thought of either, that seems to emulate, well, the arcade scene, something that the other systems cannot seem to do at least well, or even, I don't even know how you do it. You need a pretty weird setup. You need 4 TVs, you would need 4 systems, and they have to be pretty much back to back to back. And what I'm talking about here is 4 Switches in tabletop mode, 4 copies of Street Fighter Collection, 8 Joy-Con controllers, I guess, and in this case, a full round-robin tournament that is pretty much the same as people would do back with Street Fighter 2 in the arcade when you would have 4 arcade machines hooked up. Now, this was a feature called Tournament Battle. What you would need was 4 Street Fighter 2 cabinets to be linked up in order to allow 8 players simultaneously take part in a small tournament. So what happens is each player plays a single round against their opponent, and then once all the fights are settled, basically the bracket will continue to automatically change and people will be kicked out, and you basically move between all the different, in this case, arcade cabinets. It sounds weird. Some people said Game Informer was a little odd. It was kind of like musical chairs, but basically they would tell you where to go, and it would seamlessly, in this case, quickly anyway, run an entire tournament with bracket systems and everything. Rather than, I guess, pass around a controller, you actually go to your arcade cabinet, or in this case, a Switch set up in tabletop mode. Now, you will need 4 Switches, you will need 4 copies of, in this case, Street Fighter Collection, and you will need, I guess, 8 controllers, whether that's joysticks, or Pro controllers, or Joy-Con controllers. Who knows? It's up to you. But what's really cool is I guess the creativity here by Capcom, a little surprising to be honest, but to do that is really neat, and it's cool to be able to emulate something from the arcades you wouldn't have been able to otherwise without a Switch in tabletop mode. Very, very neat idea. I think I'm getting a little more on board with this collection. Before it was a little like, I mean, you're kind of just cashing in with old games again, Portcom, right? But I like seeing a feature like this being added. I think it'll give some extra life to the tournament scene with Street Fighter. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the Street Fighter 2 tournament mode with the Switch in tabletop mode, 4 switches, but you kind of have a round robin tournament where you actually move between switches, and you have one person, I guess, who wins the entire thing at the end. I guess it would be one undefeated person who wins at the end, and I guess it's displayed on all the switches. Kind of cool, at least it sounds cool. We'll see how well it is in practice with people kind of hanging out for a night and playing. Sounds like it could at least be really cool and could run, I guess in this case, a tournament much faster than having to do the old paper pencil or typing up on a laptop. Also, are you excited for the new Tomb Raider? Shadow of the Tomb Raider should be really cool for fans of the series. It sounds like they're going to close it out. It'll be the big finale, and hopefully it comes out with no issues, because we did have that de novo support with the Rise of the Tomb Raider that was a real pain and slowed down computers. So we'll see how all of that goes, and hopefully The Witcher does get a big announcement does happen today where Geralt does go to Soul Calibur, but we'll have to see later on today. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.